For me, late lamented Biju Patnaik was one of the gift of the God to the state of Odisha. I don't believe that he was a politician. He was a politician among statespersons and he was a statesman among politicians. Well, had Biju Patnaik been born outside Odisha, he would have achieved miracles. It doesn't necessarily mean that he had not achieved miracles. He was a person with a different taste, and his expanse of relationship from the topmost rich politician, industrialist, intellectually ordained, to the ground level of a daily wager. So he had sympathy for the poor, and he was one among the established, rich and politically most communicative person in the state. When he speaks English, nobody can beat him in his historical sense, classical touch, drawing from ancient history about Odisha's glory, cultural heritage, and at the same time connecting it with the modern Odisha, thinking in terms of if we were great, why you will not be great now? Who denied us greatness? Who took away greatness for us? Who took away it from us? So his concern was both to see a developed Odisha, to see a developed rural Odisha. He knew that there is a vast teeming million of sufferers live inside Odisha. Give you an example, when he became Chief Minister in 1961, there are two challenges excluding poverty. Poverty was, illiteracy was a problem not only for Odisha, for other places. But Odisha's specific problem in 1961 to him were natural calamities like flood, like fire, because the rural Odisha, the households were built with straw, and straw catches fire easily, and that too when fire spreads in a particular fire occurs in a particular house, it spreads over the village because of the continuity in the building of the houses. So the one fire in one house can destroy one village. So his immediate attention was how to change the whole concept of straw houses. And being an industrialist, being a thinker, being a planner, being a dreamer, the Chaudwar tile factory was established so that people can get tile at a cheaper rate and change their straw built rooftop to tile built rooftop. The second one was flood. Mahanadi is the lifeline of Odisha, and Mahanadi with its tributaries caused flood havoc. I remember as a student in 1962 flood, or probably 1961 flood after he became Chief Minister, I don't remember exactly whether it's 1961 or 62. He was interested to prevent flood and to save Hirakud also. Hirakud was a dam which was constructed in 1950s by another indomitable personality called Dr. Harikrishna Mahatab, who was a mentor of Biju Patnaik. And Biju Patnaik was sitting at the control room, allowing more water to pour into Hirakud, less water to go, because he knew that rains in Madhya Pradesh cause flood in Odisha. And no rain in Odisha cannot cause drought in Madhya Pradesh. That is the kind of symbiotic relationship we have got. And he knows also that the sea will not accept excess flood water during the full moon days. So that was the full moon time when excess flood water flowing through Mahanadi cannot get into the river, and Odisha has developed its own community on the river bank side. So villages after villages can be taken away by the flurry of the flood water. That he knew. So he wanted to go slow. So that was his concern for the people. And that concern created a kind of commitment in him. Because you see, unless you have concern, you cannot have the consciousness. And if you don't have consciousness, you cannot be having commitment. So Biju Patnaik had the commitment to go for a second bund at Tikarpada, which he planned, and he found that place to be most suitable and ideal to have a second check dam, so that there will be no flood, but there will be abundant irrigation facilities and power production. During 1963-64, he planned for that. People say that during a failing health time of Pandit Nehru, he took him to Tikarpada for the foundation laying ceremony. And Nehru died after 4-5 months. That trip was bad. It's wrong. Biju Patnaik never looked into that side. Biju Patnaik looked into how to save rural Odisha, how to save teeming millions of poor people from the flurry of the flood. Similarly, Biju Patnaik could identify what Paradip can contribute to the state and to the country. Look, today the country is happy with Paradip port, but Paradip port was not a part of the planning commission's initiative. Paradip was not allowed to be set up because of the political connivance and controversies in the country. But Biju Patnaik was determined to have Paradip. So it came as a state project. He was the chairman of the planning board of the state. So Paradip, if Paradip is something today, it was because of Biju Patnaik. And Biju Patnaik wanted that the mineral rich Odisha should have enough of export currency, export money, and Odisha can build India, not India will build Odisha. That was his vision. Odisha will build India, not India will build Odisha. At a young age, such a person could dream. So when I look at this personality after his death, who died on 17th of April 1997, I believe Odisha lost a stalwart among the politicians and a fatherly figure among the people of Odisha, who died for Odisha, who was born for Odisha, and who worked incessantly for Odisha. Well, centenary is a date. People will forget when the centenary occurred. But when people say that this is centenary and Biju Patnaik is not awarded Bharat Ratna despite his contributions during freedom fighting period, saving the lives of the people, and also associating himself in the independence movement of Indonesia and Nepal. So he is a multinational. So he is Ratna of Bharata, though Bharat Ratna was denied to him. And this centenary will also give us a time to review the role of all the politicians of the state and the country. That Biju Patnaik could not become Prime Minister because of the internal connivance among his creations, his associates and his contemporaries. That Biju Patnaik is a tough politician. If he becomes the Prime Minister of India, he is not pliable. So we need pliable personalities at the head of the government, and being non-pliable, Biju Patnaik missed that opportunity. That during the centenary year, the people of Odisha who got an opportunity in 1997 were denied that opportunity, and that is because, not because of outsiders, but because of Odiyas. People will definitely review and assess. Navakrishna Chaudhary, who did the Anchal Shasan, he was one of the most versatile chief minister of the state, and Harikrishna Mahatab was mentor of Biju Patnaik. Navakrishna Chaudhary was relation of Biju Patnaik. So both of them, with diametrically opposite characters, they had an influence upon Biju Patnaik. See, Biju Patnaik was born with silver spoon in his mouth. He was son of Narayan Patnaik. And Biju Patnaik, during his schooling and early college days, could come to limelight because of his flamboyant personality, sports-loving personality, and aggressive potential he had. And he wanted to be a pilot. He became a pilot. And by becoming pilot, he was not just to love flying in the air, but he used his pilot technique for creating a safe opportunity for the Indian freedom fighters to go from one spot to the other, and connecting people from different spots, and also releasing from the Dutch control the Indonesian freedom fighters. And that too, taking his wife without having the propulsion. That speaks about the character, courage, and the indomitable personality of Biju Patnaik. So Biju Patnaik was definitely first among others. He was ahead of his age in thinking about freedom fighter. He was the real Garibaldi of the freedom movement of India. If Gandhi is taken as both Count Cabot and Mazzini, and there are a couple of Garibaldis, Biju Patnaik can be taken as a Garibaldi in the freedom movement of India. His major contributions were giving Panchayat Raj an industrial outlook. The Panchayat industry concept was his brainchild, and the competition among Panchayat Samitis for indigenous Panchayat industries was his brainchild. He was first in India to give this concept, and also award of 1 lakh rupee for the best Panchayat Samiti which has done some productive business. And the second one was the concept of state planning board. There was no concept of state planning board in India. It was Biju Patnaik who was responsible to give the concept of state planning board. Other states emulated it. And you know, planning commission is not a part of the constitution. Constituent Assembly and rejected it, but it came as a parliamentary resolution on 15th of March 1950. And planning commission chairperson was the Prime Minister of India. So he modeled a planning board in that manner, that chief minister will be the chairperson and there will be deputy chairman. But when he was out of the office of the chief minister, he became the chairman of the state planning board, because he is interested to give planning a new direction, a new leadership, and a new type of drive. So direction, drive, and leadership, they were Biju Patnaik's brainchild, and he was first among many. When he became chief minister on the second occasion, when Government of India was dilly-dallying over the democratic decentralization, the parliament was dissolved on the issue of reviving Panchayat Raj. Biju Patnaik, before 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, brought the new Panchayat Raj dispensation in Odisha. In that case, he was one of the Bhagirath of the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, because he, prior to 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, revised and amended Odisha Gram Panchayat Act in the light which was followed by Government of India. And there he gave 1/3 reservation of the seats at each level to women, because he knew that women are meant for Panchayat, and a Panchayat can improve, it can be improved through women's participation, women's presence, and women's leadership. Well, there are many interesting moments, but the last one I should say that I wrote a letter to him in a postcard, because I was chosen as a Charles Wallace Fellow in United Kingdom to work on a project relating to Odisha. Region and religion was the theme, and why Odisha is a quiet state. I heard Biju Patnaik addressing people near Lions Gate of Puri on the eve of 1989 election, addressing, and he was the Janata Dal opposition leader at that time. And Janata Dal symbol was the wheel. And he equated wheel with Nila Chakra of the Jagannath temple and said that this wheel, with the blessings of Nila Chakra, Biju Patnaik belongs to a Brahmo family. They do not have any rituals, they don't perform rites. How a Brahmo could talk like this? So that gave me incentive in early 1990 to prepare a project and submit it. By the time I completed my project and submitted it for consideration, Biju Patnaik was already Chief Minister. So I wrote to him in a postcard because I knew that he may not get informed if I send a letter. But he read that postcard. By that time I have already received the award, I was selected. And he called me, I was taking class in Utkal University. He sent a vehicle without prior information. A person came from his office and I was called. And the initial remark he gave, what made you to think like this? That my heart is not crying for Lord Jagannath. Well, yes, you are a Brahmo and we are living in a secular state. There was a stone fell in the Jagannath temple and immediately you sanctioned some money. But the question is, my question is, should the state do this or should people do this? If Jagannath temple is to be protected, it is to be protected by people. Where are people who are not even contributing? For that matter, I am interested there should be some entry fee for the temple, so that out of that entry fee, we can protect our monuments. There is no people's participation. There is overuse of the campus by a particular community. I told him, now who are you to think like this? And what made you, are you mad? You have made me intolerant of the Hindu society? No, I am not. Lord Jagannath is Lord Jagannath. He is people's deity, not a religious deity. That was his language. And you are doing research on what? I said, narrated this. But there was some other problem relating to some lecturer who resigned and contested urban election. She was defeated and Biju Patnaik wanted to reinstate that lady. So 4 persons, while I was discussing this, 4 persons entered into his room. And they were, I don't have any hesitation in taking their name, they were Chaitanya Prasad Majhi, the then Education Minister, Mr. Vijay Mahapatra, probably Irrigation Minister or something like that, then Mr. Parimohan Mahapatra, his secretary, and Mr. Abhayananda Ratha, Education Secretary, all the 4. And Biju Patnaik shouted, you gang of 4, what made you to come when I am discussing? And he reprimanded Mr. Sarangi, his private secretary, for not taking his permission. Paribabu told, do you need any permission to get you into your room? Then he said, yes, what is the problem? Abhayananda Ratha told, sir, there is no precedence about reinstating so and so. Biju Patnaik said, Biju Patnaik creates precedents, never follows precedents. So my hat's up to him, that here is a man who has the courage to say like this. Then next day I am supposed to visit, because he said, today I am awfully busy, you can come tomorrow. Then he ordered the office, make arrangement for his visit again at 10:30 tomorrow. Vehicle came to my place, took me, but I could not talk to him, though I waited for 1.5 hours. It was because the previous night, former Chief Secretary of Odisha, Mr. B. Sibraman, had died, and there was a meeting for condolence for the sad demise of Mr. Sibraman, who became the Cabinet Secretary of India also. While he returned, he was walking into his room, and I remember one of my senior, Madam Meera Das, who was a member of the parliament, was walking with him and told Professor Mishra, I couldn't give you time. You are leaving today? Yes, sir, I am leaving today. Okay. He called his deputy secretary and gave him my fax number. And if you are going to Hall, which is a pet place for me, and there is Swaraj Paul in Sconsthorpe, he has iron industries, you can talk to him, give my reference. On the corridor of the chief minister's floor, that was the kind of, when he put his hand on my shoulder, have my blessings, do a good research and show me the research theme on your arrival. So this is one of the, out of a half a dozen good incidents in my life, very close to Mr. Patnaik, I remember this because of his magnanimity, courage, spirit and love for a young person like me in comparison to his age. Now I am 66 and he is 100 years. So difference is only 34 years, and that 34 years has made me, say, a lover, a devoter of Mr. Patnaik.